Protests, lockdowns, facial recognition technology ushered in, then ushered out. What the hell is going on in Australia? Let's take a look at it. Hello, you 4 million miracles, and today a particular welcome to those of you in the Antipodes and yet more specifically Australia. I know there's a lot of weird stuff going on in your country and we want to talk about it together because we know wherever you are, the United States of America, my country, England, Australia, all the Anglophonic countries, or countries where you speak different languages and have entirely different cultural origins, there's a rise in authoritarianism, there's a rise in surveillance. This is a peculiar time for power, but let's see how those ideas apply in particular to Australia today. Facial recognition firm Clearview AI has been ordered to cease collecting photos of Australians from the internet after it was revealed police in some states had trialled the technology. We did a story a little while ago about how the police were recording using AI technology images of people protesting in this country in the UK. Of course, these kind of trends are transnational trends because really the world is, let's face it, one of the key components of globalism is truly powerful interests stand astride conventional nationalistic power structures because they are the true global colossi, I think that's the right word to pluralize that, colossuses, that are able to trade and act with impunity wherever they are as long as it's in the pursuit of profit. On Wednesday, the Information and Privacy Commissioner determined Clearview AI had breached the privacy of Australians by collecting images of them online and ordered the company to delete all images of people in Australia within 90 days and not collect any more. Just to be clear, don't take any new ones. But Clearview AI has stood its ground, saying it operates legitimately in Australia and intends to appeal the decision. Clearview AI is a facial recognition service that claims to have built up enormous databases containing more than 3 billion labelled faces through the controversial practice of scraping photos from Facebook and other social media sites. We talked about this before. I remember being struck by the term scraping. It's not something I'm a fan of, but it does give you an indication of what's going on. It's somehow abrasive and invasive and it's not got a good intention at its core. I suppose what interests me is because I know there's been a lot of protests in Australia, that there's been a lot of controversy around lockdowns. And in fact, a guest on my podcast, Under the Skin, Luke Kemp, who's a research associate at the Centre for Study of Existential Risk at the University of Cambridge, spoke to us about how widespread this challenge is. He said, as the coronavirus has spread, many governments around the world have sought to tackle the pandemic by broadening their powers and abilities according to data collected from the COVID-19 Digital Rights Tracker and Civic Freedom Tracker. To monitor rule breakers, 22 countries have used surveillance drones, facial recognition programs have been expanded, internet censorship has occurred in 28 countries, and internet shutdowns in 13. At least 120 contact tracing apps are used across 71 states, and 60 other digital contact tracing measures have been used across 38 countries. You know, I ask you to put what you think in the comments all the time. I've seen loads of people talking about what's going on in Australia, saying that the measures are quite draconian, restrictive, and infringement on civil liberties. I'm not in a position to commentate on that directly, but I can certainly say that this type of surveillance is usually an indication, and certainly Luke Kemp thinks so, that power is shifting the way in which it seeks to control a population. Last year it was revealed that the US-based company, we're talking about Clearview AI, had offered trial services to police in Australia, specifically Queensland Police, Victoria Police and the Australian Federal Police. Reports suggested that more than 2,000 law enforcement agencies across the globe had been using Clearview's services in 2020. An indication as well of the reach and reality of certain tech powers and the model of power that we operate within. Clearview are a global organisation. Perhaps the ideologies that underwrite them and perhaps the ideologies that truly govern the democracies within which we live are global too. You might get occasional elections, you might get cultural fluctuations here and there, but what you won't get are laws and regulations that seriously prohibit and impede the interests of powerful organisations. There may be a temporary revocation of the ability of Clearview, or whatever they're called, Clearview. We've got a clear view of your private life. We've got a clear view of your genitals. We've got a clear view of a future in which you've got no power at all. It's terrifying, I know, and here's 90 versions of it. Mark Love, who has a misleading name, a lawyer for BAL Lawyers acting for Clearview AI, said the company intends to appeal to the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. Clearview AI operates legitimately according to the laws of its places of business, it says. We always look at the laws of our places of business, and then we do whatever we can within those laws to enact tyranny and create profit. I mean, that's one of the things that we continually point out, isn't it, on this channel? That often within the law it's possible to do things that feel, seem, and ultimately are wrong. Look at all the insider trading stuff going on in America. Look at the 2-job stuff going on in the UK. Yeah, all right, it's within the law, but that shows you that the law is set up to privilege and advance the interests of a particular set of people. That's no good. That's different from right, isn't it? Police forces in Australia have downplayed their use of the service. However, the OAIC report found officers in Australia had successfully searched for suspects, victims, and themselves in the Clearview databases. Look at that. Suspects. Oh, good work, mate. Look at that. Victims. Really good. Look, I'm a bit bored of this. Should we have a look for ourselves? I wondered when you was going to ask, mate. It's the second ruling that the OAIC has made against facial recognition technology this year, after a similar finding was made against convenience store giant 7-Eleven last month after the collection of facial images of people filling out customer surveys across 700 stores. Up to 3.2 million facial images had been collected over a 10-month period. In June 2020, 7-Eleven rolled out tablets in its 700 stores across New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and Western Australia to allow customers to fill in surveys. Each tablet had a built-in camera that took photos of customers both when they started and completed the survey. The photos were then uploaded to an Australian-hosted server where the facial image was converted to an encrypted algorithmic face print, and a person's approximate age and gender were recorded based on an assessment of the face print. That sounds somewhat terrifying, that something as innocuous as filling in a survey at 7-Eleven led to this rather esoteric technological process where people are speculating about your identity. Of course, at the moment, most of this information is used just to sort of sell you stuff, I suppose, is what they're doing. That seems to be the dominator ideology. All of your information that's being taken by social media platforms is ultimately being sold to advertisers. It's just creating bespoke advertisements. But when you look at it from the perspective of it dominating your attention, or when you look at it from the fact that you're increasingly being extracted from your own essence and being turned into like just a set of data, and that all that matters about you is your resale value, your ability to spend money, it's chilling even more than the obvious possibility that this information will ultimately be used to control you, to prevent you operating freely. The government's existing alliance with big tech and big business could easily be used to enhance lockdowns. And given the nature of some of the complaints I've seen about the level of prohibition that people in Australia are currently experiencing, it certainly seems to be a concern of people in Australia. 7-Eleven initially tried to defend the practice. There's nothing wrong with it. Telling the commissioners the facial recognition technology was designed to prevent staff or others from completing multiple surveys in one day. Well, can you imagine? Like, you know what people are like? They love a survey, don't they? People have been, oh, hang on, I've done one survey. Mate, you've already done one survey, that's enough. Get your hands off me. Unless they have facial recognition technology that can stare into my eyes and each individual freckle, I'm doing as many surveys as I like. The company also argued people had the option of not using. We don't have to do it. That's the same with everything, isn't it? Every single, other than things that are mandated or you're obligated to do, that's the argument for them. Don't have to get in a car. That people had the option of not using the tablets, and that the company had posted signs in the store stating, by entering this store, you consent to facial recognition cameras capturing and storing your image. Oh yeah, how big was that sign? Who wrote it? A tiny little mouse down on the skirting board, a little mouse with clogs on. Also, if you're popping into 7-Eleven for some kind of necessity, possibly related to defecation, you're not going to think, oh, I came in here for some toilet roll, but I'm consenting to facial recognition. I'll have to just do a poo on the curb. So it's an interesting story about a unique nation, continent, about levels of regulation and surveillance that seem to be operating in alliance with the unique conditions brought about by the pandemic. I know many of you in Australia are concerned about what's happening there. There are particular details of that are difficult to discuss online, but this surveillance issue is already in the public domain, easy to discuss, and for me, cause for concern sufficient to warrant further investigation. But that's just what I think. What do you think, people in Australia, New Zealand, everywhere around the world, our American brothers and sisters, people from my country, non-Anglophonic countries everywhere in the world. What do you think about the way the world is changing, the new regulations that are emerging, the ongoing surveillance, the capture of data? Do you think a global superstate is being constructed where ultimately we'll all be corralled off into little units where we have less and less control over our own lives, our freedom slowly eroded? Let me know in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up, share this video around, put it amongst your Australian buddies and friends so they can see it too. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at this one. Very, very similar video. You might consider listening to my Luminary podcast that you can subscribe to wherever you are in the world through Apple, where I talk to people like Edward Snowden and other experts on tech invasion and surveillance and the slow erosion of our powers. If you want to meditate now, have a look at this cheeky guy, and please sign up to my mailing list right here. Stay free.